Hello and welcome to Success is Never Accidental. I'm Lynne Peyton and I'm passionate about helping individuals and organisations to get better outcomes and to feel more fulfilled. It's my belief that the key to success in any agency is strong leadership. That's why I created and delivered in many agencies and organisations the Core Leadership Development Programme to strengthen leadership in 4 core areas. The C is for communication. Leaders have to be really effective communicators, and that starts with listening to understand. The O is for optimization of all the resources at our disposal, but it starts with 2 key things: managing our mindset and optimizing our time. The R is for relationship. Leaders recognize the importance of building trusting relationships and developing great networks. And the E is for evaluation. We must constantly evaluate everything we do so that we ensure that we're doing more of what's effective and we stop doing things that don't work. So in this interview, in this podcast, Success is Never Accidental, I get to interview some highly successful leaders across industries and sectors and from all over the world so that we can better understand their formula for success and we can identify some of the common factors. But nothing changes without action. So each episode includes a challenge to you to reflect, evaluate, decide, and to act. In other words, to do things differently going forward. I have 2 amazing guests in this week's show. Ivan and Mariana Polic are based in California, USA, and they're best-selling authors and internationally recognized speakers. They specialize in helping business owners to grow and scale their businesses so that they can sell or retire. In the last 12 years, Ivan and Marianna have served as advisors to numerous small and medium-sized businesses in various industries. Drawing on their own experience and as long-time executives in the aerospace industry, where they quadrupled their company's revenue and created a high-value exit, Marianna and Ivan use proven strategies and systemic principles to coach leaders and develop successful organizations which are ethical and aligned with their purpose and values. So please help me welcome Marianna and Ivan Polic. Welcome, Ivan and Marianna, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello.
It's an honor. Thank you for having us.
And it's so good to see you both again. It's been quite a long time. Our paths crossed in the Tony Robbins environment where we all volunteered to support others on their journey towards success. So tell me a little bit about what life is like for you guys at the moment. You've had very successful careers. Tell me a little bit about what life is like right now.
Well, we are enjoying it tremendously. We have done the long miles to get to here. And, it wasn't always easy on the path, but currently we're enjoying ourselves very much in helping other people make the similar journey that we've had.
So tell us a little bit about Jumpstart then and how you're helping people prepare for exit.
Well, there are several complications when you're considering to sell your business, and some of those complications really hurt your valuation and your ability to actually have a transaction. And so one of those main complications is that typically owners are heavily involved in their business. And if they're very involved in the operations of the business, it's very difficult to make the sale because the new owner is thinking, well, when the owner is no longer working, I'm going to have a problem with this business. So it becomes a more risky proposition. And that really prevents a lot of people from selling. It's a kind of a sad statistic that of all the people that want to sell their business, only 20% are successful. 80% of people are not able to actually sell their business at all.
And of course, it's not just in small business and medium-sized businesses that owners or leaders or managers get over involved. A lot of the people who follow this podcast are in the public sector. But again, you see that same trait, don't you, of leaders doing too much. How do we encourage people, Marianna, to delegate more effectively, to empower and grow subordinates?
Well, I always say a one-man show can take you only so far. And there's going to be a fair amount of time until you crack under all those responsibilities that you want to carry yourself and refuse to share with others. We kind of saw that in our previous business that we owned, the way we took over, the previous owner, and then how we had to decentralize the knowledge and responsibilities and involve more people into it, which was not only good for the founder of the business, but it was good for everybody inside the business, because it creates the sense of togetherness and unity and the sense of I matter because I do something important. So as opposed to only one person mattering and doing the most important things, we have more than one.
And why is it that people are so fearful of letting go?
Well, it becomes a big part of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, in the early days of the founding of the business, they are the all-important person. They are the ones that fuel the energy and the resources and the enthusiasm and the decision-making and all of those things. And so after a few years, it kind of becomes a part of them. I'm very important. If I don't do it, nobody else will do it. It becomes a very firm belief. Some of those beliefs are, no one can do it as well as I can. No one's going to care about my business as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do something right, you got to do it yourself. All of those things are kind of the lies that fuel the continuum clinging and control over the business. And at some point, all of those kind of hands-on approaches are really good at the early stages of the business. But at some point, the business may outgrow the ability of one person, one human's nervous system to support it. And when that happens, major problems occur. Some of those problems are business starts to stagnate because the person cannot deliver on all the different aspects of a huge organization, or the person overgives, and then the person's nervous system suffers and health suffers,
Mm-hmm.
and burnout occurs. And so it's very not optimal for both sides of the equation. And a lot of times founders sabotage the growth of the business to be able to survive. So in those kind of aspects, it's very important to raise your awareness of it and to find ways to actually start to let go little by little for the benefit of your own health and for the benefit of the organization and for the benefit of the team around you.
And you talk from some personal experience, Ivan, because you personally have shared that you got to that place where, it wasn't fun to go to work anymore.
Well, yeah, I did go to a very, I talk from very personal experience. I drove up to our building of our own business one morning, and I was so burnt out that I couldn't let go of the wheel. I had my hands on the wheel, and I was like, I imagined myself walking in, and I was like, I cannot walk in one more time in there, because I'm gonna hear the same problem, and I'm gonna own the problem, and the problem I'm owning I cannot fix by myself. It's too big. And so in that kind of a gap, I realized that if I don't change something, I think I'm gonna have a heart attack or a stroke or something, because I was pushing way beyond what was, I wasn't sleeping. I was it was really a tough situation. In that moment, in that kind of dark place, I had a realization, a kind of wake up call, that if I don't change something, this is going to be the end of me. And I imagine my kids. You know, a lot of times we do a lot of things for our kids, but I was gonna do so much that he was gonna end me. So it's really a trap that many people fall into. I call it the founder's trap, and it's a developmental stage of leadership.
It's a way they define success.
And you know what? Thank you so much for sharing that, because I see so many people in the public sector agencies, not-for-profit agencies, who are literally either at that place or very close to that place. And sadly, the awareness often doesn't come until they're really sick. And then they realize that actually everything just keeps right on going without them. What do we need to do to increase awareness? Marianna, you talked about people need to feel important. There needs to be that sense of team. Ivan, you've said you can't do it all yourself. You can't think it all up yourself. How do we create more awareness across sectors about the need for effective teams, for effective delegation, for empowering capacity?
Well, I would say, first of all, for the person in that position, whether they are a business owner, founder, or somebody who's in an important position in a big company, to ask themselves, why am I doing everything? Why am I taking so many responsibilities? Could there be a better way for this? And also kind of have not just that moment or present awareness, but kind of have a future glimpse of what would happen if I continue doing things in the way that I'm doing them right now. Also, seek feedback from the people around them. I would say immediate family. You know, if your partner, whether it's a wife or a husband, is missing you, or they are kind of, you know, trying to get your attention, or you're missing your children's events or something like that, that is usually a pretty, or you can't go on vacation without things falling apart, you know, back at the company. That is usually a pretty good indicator that you are, the business or the position is overly dependent on you. And that's one of the things that should be brought into awareness first.
So
It's-
whenever, go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, it's a very it can creep up on us.
Yeah.
And usually a good way to slow down things is take a little bit of time off if you can afford it, or take a 30 minutes off where you can slow down a little bit. What happens in the go nervous system? A go nervous system is hijacked, and there isn't processing time, there isn't processing a space, there isn't processing. Cognition is under capacity. And so in order for us to really think more clearly and not to be hijacked by the obligations and the expectations and the demands, we need to really pause. Pausing is the first step where you can actually get all your faculties back online, where you can objectively zoom out a little bit and look at these are highly capable people. This is not, usually the burnout doesn't happen to someone who doesn't have a sense of responsibility and service. And usually the service-oriented people are burned out the most. And that's the sad state of affairs. And so we really need to take care of the resource ourselves in a good way so we can continue contributing what we really mostly want to contribute. And if we run empty, we're not going to be able to deliver on those most meaningful things that we care about the most.
Those are great tips. So step one is pause. Step two, look at it from an objective point of view. I always say get in the helicopter and out of the trenches. And then look around for help and support. And then what Marianna was saying is look and see what talent and resources you have available to you. So any other tips for empowering and delegating more effectively?
What would it look like? What would it feel like if you had a team that you could trust?
Yeah, great question.
What would it feel like that people around you were growing?
Mm-hmm.
How rewarding would it feel to actually have a group of team members with you whose lives are changing because of your choice to include them?
That's a fabulous question. Say that one again. How rewarding would it feel?
If the people around you grew and changed their lives for their own families and their own careers because of your change, because of your choice to include them.
That's just so moving. And that's really what it's all about. I think too often we think of delegation as putting more on to people. But if we reframe that and say, how about it's about giving opportunities in a supportive way to people so that they can grow and change and become more independent? Yeah, that's such a good question.
Marianna?
So I would also ask a bit of a controversial question of myself as a leader. Am I really the best at everything?
Yeah.
Is there somebody around me on my team who is also good at some things and even better than me?
Mhm.
And what would happen if I gave that opportunity to that person?
This really rhymes with creating a vacuum of leadership. And so when you are doing everything, there is no space. You have filled all the spaces of leadership. A question comes up, boom, you have an answer. An opening comes up or an introduction, boom, you step into it. You are so responsive, hyper responsive and reactive that there's no room around you for anyone else to step into. And so what needs to happen is you need to create a vacuum of leadership, which means you need to create spaces where other people can step into. And without those spaces, none of those people around you are going to grow. You have just monopolized all the opportunities for leadership. And so unless you start creating some openings for them, they will not grow. And then you will wonder, why isn't this person growing? Because you're in their way. That's usually what happens. And so really considering how much people could grow. And one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things on our journey in our career was turning around that business where I didn't want to walk into. We turned around the culture completely, and we ended up working myself out of the operations completely to working 2 hours a week. A team was blossoming and flourishing and thriving all by themselves. They were loving the opportunity. We added some people, we grew some people from within, and it was a great mix. We ended up selling to private equity for 8 figures, and private equity seasoned buyers said, this is the best culture and team that we've ever acquired. During due diligence, they were amazing. They were the pride of what we've built. And at the end of the process, when we looked around the room, these were amazing people, amazing leaders, proud parents, moms and dads of kids back at home who have a completely different future in life because of who they've become. And that is really what we're the most proud of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that is what we really are taking with us as a legacy and helping other people build teams like that and provide opportunities for growth.
And that's such a holistic approach to leadership, isn't it? You know, that as you said, as leaders, we're also family members, community members, and we want to be able to feel that it all comes together in some kind of functional way. Mariana, what was it like for you when Ivan decided to change, when he decided to pivot from being the kingpin in the organization to allowing other people to help?
Yeah, well, it was finally I get to have him for longer on this earth. It was, you know, by that time we were working together in the business, and I was trying to help as much as I could. And you know, as sometimes that's possible and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just have to witness the person for a little bit until it matures, you know, and it's ripe for change. And I think for him, you know, at one point, with that point when he drove up to the building, that was kind of a moment where he was ready to turn around. And you know, we said, okay, great, how do we do this? And you know, he said, because I was in charge of the culture and the hiring and compliance and all of that, the people, you know, aspect of it. And he said, I need you to hire me the best people so we can build this team and we can, and I'm like, on it. So and it was, you know, there were some great people there. We had to go through some, you know, people in terms of, you know, filling up some roles and everything, but you know, eventually we had a perfect mix of people who were brought up from within the company, and also people who were brought from outside and hired. And it was great to witness that change in him, and just a way of realizing right on time, you know, for us, for me, and for our boys, and for extended family, so that you know, they see also and they're proud of him, and they witness that as well, all children. Because you know, at one point, you know, when they were little, they said, we're gonna take over, but then they were witnessing some things and they said, we don't want to own this business. And then later on, when everything was kind of transformed, they said, you know, this place is worth having, because they saw the change in Ivan's leadership and how he was approaching it.
And what's fabulous is then, as well as transforming your own company, you took all that learning, and since then you've been able to help so many other leaders in companies actually get a better outcome for themselves. So that's, as you said, a legacy, Ivan. That's a wonderful legacy to have, isn't it? That you just know that your learning, painful as it might have been at the time, actually helped so many other people avoid that same trap.
Mm-hmm. Well, it does mean redefining success. You know, it's because for them, the only way that they see it is that they hold the reins, that they care the most, that you know, they're not only keeping it afloat but trying to grow it. To them, that is being successful. You know, I own my business, I'm here every day, you know, 12 hours a day, I don't sleep. But then when we come in and then we show them what's possible, and we start building the surrounding supporting team, that to them makes sense, because they see a different way in which they can be successful as a person, as a business owner, or the holder of the role of within a larger company. But then also the success of the business itself, if you look at it as its own entity, and then furthermore the success of everybody else in the company.
True success from our perspective is really about building something that can go beyond you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Creating something that can have a lasting contribution, a lasting impact beyond you showing up.
Well, that's just such a beautiful note to end on. But how can people get in touch with you or find you on LinkedIn and other media?
Yes, they can find us on LinkedIn. They can also find us on our website. It's jumpstartyourexit.com. That's about it, I think.
But you have a really good profile on LinkedIn. It's not hard to find you on there. Thank you so much for joining us today, my friends. And thank you for reminding us that success is never accidental.
Thank you for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
us.
So happy.
So many lessons from Marianna and Ivan Polic. So I'm just trying to capture a few of them. First of all, it's the responsibility of business owners and senior leaders in organizations to recognize that holding on to control, making all the decisions, doing everything themselves simply does not work. And for many people, it can actually lead to physical and mental illness. And apart from that, it can be really, really bad for the business or the organization. Second thing that I think came out of that interview was, as leaders, regardless of what level we're at in the organization, the culture is our responsibility. We need to build a strong, competent, and empowered workforce. We need to help them grow and develop and encourage them to be proud of their endeavors. Teams are a prerequisite for success. So we have to build strong, successful teams that are aligned to the values of the organization, but also aligned to people's personal interests and skills. And for anyone listening to the show today who is currently feeling overwhelmed, please take Ivan and Mariana's advice. First of all, number one, hit the pause button for a time, stop the go, 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 get out of react mode and just take time to sit and process. Two, look at the situation objectively. Where are you now? What's going on? How did you get to this point? Then three, look into the future and ask better questions. Am I really the best person to do this? What would it look like with a team I can trust? How rewarding would it feel if I help the people around me to grow and develop and that they become my legacy? And then step four, commit to change and take action. So my challenge for you is, as a leader, take a moment to reflect on the following. Scale yourself on a scale of 5 to 10. Where are you as a leader in terms of control? How controlling are you, or how empowering are you? Those are the opposite sides of the scale. And secondly, just do a check-in on your own emotional resilience and well-being on a scale of 5 to 10. And if you're at a 6, then what needs to happen to get to 7? And then ask yourself the big question, what must I do differently going forward? And then commit to take that action. And remember, success is never accidental.